on Saturday. It's kind of, this is what I want to start off to, is recognizing the tragedy that happened and the legacy that is Representative Melissa Hortman. I knew her for a very short period of time. I just knew her by her reputation well before I started serving, that she was a very fair, a very, somebody to be respected. And so I went in knowing that, I met her a few times, and she was always the nicest person, especially for a new person coming in of the other party. So I'd just like to recognize that. I was down there, I don't know if anybody else went down there last night, and amazing. I was out there, got there right away, and we were way out there, and it was about an hour to get up there, and the turnout and the recognition for her. So I thought about canceling this out of recognition of that. I didn't want to do that because I had canceled a previous one. I wanted to be respectful and didn't want people showing up today. Also, I know that Representative Hortman believes that we need to still continue to serve and represent our people. And so I gave up my spot. I allowed somebody else that maybe knew her even longer because it was a private RSVP only, so I wanted to make sure somebody else that knew her longer also had an opportunity to go there. So she's a wonderful person. She will be missed. She has left a legacy, and just wanted to take a moment to recognize that. So, again, I'm Wayne Johnson. I'm the representative for this area. I wanted to have this town hall today, kind of a wrap up, what is the session happened, what possibly we're looking at going in next time. And then also hear from you. I could stand up here and speak, which politicians are known to do, but I didn't want to take the opportunity away from you to ask your questions at this time. Why, what happened, what didn't happen, why did it happen, different votes and stuff like that. So that's really what I wanted to do here today, is not tell you what I've done, but also have you ask me questions of what's going on, because as you watch the news, what I found out when I started serving down there, especially at the beginning and then towards the end, what you hear in the news is often nowhere near what's actually going on. It's just people, talking heads going on there wanting to be first. And so it's always entertaining now being in the inside, hearing those stories, and then kind of like, really, we did that? I must have stepped out at that moment or something. So I just wanted to let you know, if you ever have any real questions or any questions and something doesn't make sense, or if you hear something's happening and I said I'm going to do something else, reach out to me. There's many ways to reach out to me. I try to be as open and available as I can, and you can get the different side of it, and that's the way things are. So with that said, I also want to set some ground rules. I am not talking about federal issues today. We have our representatives and senators. I'm also not going to talk about hypotheticals. The reason is because people have asked in the past, what if the federal government does this? What if the bill? What about Medicare and stuff like that? If you've followed along at all, those bills are going so many different directions, and that's where I have also learned too, is until you actually see what's really happening, there's nothing the state can do. When something happens, we will deal with it. We will be brought in possibly to a special session if they go through with the cuts. But until things are happening, and things up in the Senate bill, from my understanding, and a lot of times I don't even pay attention to federal anymore because we have so much going on at the state, is that we, until they actually vote for that bill, then it has to go back over to the House, then it has to come together, and then then it possibly is signed. Until that happens, we don't know if we need to worry, what we need to do, where we need to get, and stuff like that. So I want to concentrate on what we're doing here at the state level that directly impacts you right now. From the bill starting July 1st is the bill that we passed for the budget, is what, and the laws that came into place start going into place. So any questions? Otherwise I'll just go by raising hands, and we're here for till 11 o'clock, so hopefully everybody has an opportunity. If I don't answer your question to the fullest, please reach out to me, phone call, email, however different way. So anybody like to start?
I'll start.
Yes, please.
Hi. Yesterday I was one of those people who waited online and saw was there with thousands of other Minnesotans.
I think they want
Yeah.
you
I
to
think everybody can
speak
hear
up a
you.
little
Yeah,
bit.
okay, I wrote this down because I don't wanna cry.
I understand.
Yesterday, I waited in line with thousands of Minnesotans to honor and pay tribute to our House Speaker Emerita, Melissa Hortman, and her husband Mark, who were assassinated in this act of horrible gun violence. And as we know, Speaker Hortman's funeral is occurring at this very moment. And to honor her and her service to the people of our state, you know, and her commitment to taking action to make all of us safer from the epidemic of gun violence, I'm asking, what will you do? I expect my legislators to do something about gun violence in our country. We need more than thoughts and prayers. Representative Johnson, do you support banning all guns from the state capitol and state elected officials' office building, with the obvious exception of law enforcement? And will you support common sense gun legislation? I have been in the Capitol. It's very lax. People walk in with large backpacks. Anything could happen. And I personally don't believe that that was a one-off situation. I believe we will see more of that.
Thank you for the question. Did everybody hear?
Yes.
So, to answer your first question, I believe what I've heard is Minnesota is one of only four in the country that do not have metal detectors, that do not have those kind of rules. I know in the past, they've had different legislation. I know when they remodel, they put all those wiring and all that wiring in, and essentially from what I read is all they have to do is flip the switch and you can start protecting. Honestly, I thought it was weird that we don't have more security there that you can. We saw an example of lack of actual patrolling is when the first couple weeks of session, we had people come in with a bullhorn into the public safety committee and start intimidating, standing behind people and being very threatening. That basically was very concerning because it took a lot of time. We actually made adjustments with that. The question is, and I'm torn, and I think instead of what happens when we have tragedies like this, everybody rushes to make decisions. And I feel that, and I have said before, I don't like making decisions, making law or anything like that that is going to cause problems down the road. So what I feel, before we just enact something, we have to make sure we are visioning down the road how to do that. Example, if you've been down to the Capitol, you've ever been down there when all the kids show up during the May?
I've been down there a lot.
And so it's just like flooded with kids. So we need to come up with a system that doesn't turn away the kids from the experience of being down there and being the people's house and coming in and roaming around and all that stuff and turn it into a fortress. What I need to see is, what are we going to do? What are the tools we're going to do? Do I feel there needs to be gun in the Capitol? No, I do not. I think law enforcement, and I know it is a law that was passed that people can go in there, and I see the concealed carries. I don't carry, and I just never felt the necessity for that. And so I believe if you go to the court, I've been in court enough time, if you go to Minneapolis, City Hall, I've gone into, if you go into Washington County and you go into the courts, you have a detector that you can't carry through. We need to come up with something that puts people and protect people, that they are in there. And I also would support not having guns there. I just, do I believe in more strict gun control in general? I believe we have what we need right now, because the people who are committing the crime are people who have, a lot of them lawfully purchased it. I believe he lawfully. I haven't seen the final reports, but he was in security and stuff like that, and happened unfortunately in their homes. So yes, at the Capitol, I believe right now I cannot support any further gun control. I grew up with guns. My kids grew up with guns. They took safety training. I grew up in the time where we took guns to school, and we had them in the back of our truck, and we'd go hunting and stuff like that. We actually took gun safety training at the school. So, I believe more control and more laws right now. We need to actually enforce the laws that have already been in place before I'm willing to commit to any more laws being put in place, because we're not actually enforcing the laws that are already in place. So hopefully that answers your question.
When you mentioned the Capitol, you said you would have to see what they proposed or put in place. It's up to you as my legislator if you believe that we need this to work on that.
Well, I believe we need to work on it, but before I support any particular action, I need to see the action. I know they can quickly, as a someone flip a switch, but what does that mean? Because it's the same way, if you see a bill, before I can make a commitment to vote for a bill, I want to see what's in the bill. I don't want to pass a bill and then find out what's in it, because that's not good, and then you'd have to reverse it. So we haven't been presented a plan. Everybody's still very raw. And I believe in the decisions you make when it's raw and what's immediate are not necessarily good long-term decisions for you. And so I just need to see the plan, and nobody's presented a plan yet. And whatever they voted for before, I have not seen that. So we need to get through this. And then I know, I'm confident that by the time we go into session, back in February, there will be some more discussion, more plans, more decisions to be made, and we work with the Sergeant at Arms and the State Patrol to come up with some sort of plan. And I don't believe in somebody that just says yes without knowing what they're saying yes to. And that's just the way